Hi guys, Dr. Drwendydearborne here with another episode of Food Beyond Its Nutrition. And guys, that is carrot, apple, ginger and fennel soup. It is off the chain, it's delicious. So on our cutting board, what do we have? An array of vegetables. They look pretty too. Well, I have approximately four cups of carrots, and these are chopped. And everything can be rough chopped because, guys, we're actually going to make a puree out of all of this. I have a cup of yellow onions, and again, these have been chopped, and everything's going to be pureed. I am using leek because I said fennel, but this one has leek in it. I couldn't find the fennel and I didn't feel like going to another store. But bear in mind that leeks have to be washed really, really, really well. I have a stalk of celery. Could have used two, but I've got a stalk of celery there. I have some jalapenos. Usually I use serranos. Didn't have any, but I have jalapenos and I took the seeds out. I have a thumb size of ginger that's roughly chopped, and I have 5 cloves of garlic that are also roughly chopped. I also have an apple, and the recipe calls for half an apple, but this apple it's kind of seen better days, so I said I was going to just use it up. I have a tomato, a Roma tomato, a nice fair size Roma tomato that I haven't deseeded. The only thing that I did deseed was the jalapeno peppers. In the middle there, I have some spring onions that have been cut on the bias, and I'm going to use those as a garnish. I'm going to put them in the fridge until we get ready to use them. I also need a cup of stock, but I do have a cup and a half of stock because I've actually used more vegetables than normal. That is 8 ounces of my favorite, very, very favorite coconut milk. I also have some liquid smoke, and I'm going to be using 1/8 of a teaspoon of liquid smoke. Je ne sais quoi. I have a tablespoon of jeera or cumin seeds, vitally important to this recipe. I have 2 tablespoons here of masala wine, and I'm going to split that in 2. And you'll see how I'll use that in a bit. I have, of course, my salt, sea salt, and I have black pepper, avocado oil for sauteing, and here is the bottle of masala wine that I used. Okay, let's get ready to cook. In a heavy bottomed pot or Dutch oven, I am putting about 2.5 to 3 tablespoons of oil. I'm going to allow that to heat up a little bit, and then I'm going to first start out by sauteing my onions. Now I'm going to put all the onions in, and I'm going to allow them to saute, and we're going to start building layers of flavor. And this is key to cooking, layers of flavor. So one of the things that I am going to do is I'm going to add a pinch of salt to this, and just a pinch of salt to the onions. Okay, and this actually helps to extract the sweetness. It allows them to cook up beautifully, and if you're caramelizing them, which we're not really caramelizing them, that can also help. It also helps with layering of flavors, so that you're not just sort of like putting salt and pepper at the end to get everything flavored. This penetrates. Let's see, what have we got here now? Jeera. I'm adding my cumin seeds, and I'm going to put those in, which I've just done. And guys, believe me, they'll pop. If the oil is the right temperature, they'll pop and they'll release their flavors. I'm going to add the leeks, and really and truly, it would be fennel here. I'm also going to add the celery. I'm going to put my celery in. And again, it's about flavors. We're going to give this a nice stir, and the leeks have to break down. It's really important because leeks can be really fibrous. The lighter green part of the leek tends to be more fibrous than the white part of the leek. So we need to make sure that that really sort of breaks down. That's very important. I'm going to add 1/8 of a teaspoon of liquid smoke. And again, guys, it's about layers of flavor. Keep it going, making sure that the leeks become soft and tender. We're not looking for mushy, but soft and tender. Now let's add some more of the aromatics. I've got the garlic, the ginger, and the jalapenos, the de-seeded jalapenos. And you don't have to de-seed them if you don't want to. But I did because I just want the flavor. I want a mild heat. I didn't want it to be hot. So we're going to saute those and keep that going until everything is, you know, it started to become really soft and tender. Add my teaspoon of black pepper, and again I'm going to add another pinch of salt, guys. And really, guys, watch, if you see how much salt I put in, it's really not a lot of salt that I'm using. It's about the layering. Mix well so everything's incorporated. I'm going to deglaze at this moment with 1 tablespoon of the masala wine, and this will help to burn off the alcohol if you've got a problem with it and impart flavor upon flavor. I'm now going to add the tomatoes, and this does a little acid thing. It starts actually bringing everything together. And this is for me, when I put the tomatoes in, at that point, everything starts coming together. I'm going to add the apple, and the same thing. I'm going to mix it well so the apple is thoroughly coated by all the ingredients in my little Dutch pot. Again, it's about flavor. And even though we're gonna puree, it's about flavor. I'm gonna add all the carrots, to which one really tried to get away, but he didn't make it, and mix really well, making sure the carrots are totally coated by all those yummy ingredients in the pot. We want the carrots to cook to the point where they are soft but not mushy, but they need to be coated well. They need to be coated well. And so from this point on, we're actually going to add some stock, and I'm going to add, because I'm using a bit more vegetables than that's in the recipe, I'm going to add 1.5 cups of stock. Now, it's really important that when you're cooking and you're adding stock to anything that's hot, unless otherwise mentioned in the recipe, your stock really should be warm, because what happens is it will take the temperature down, and then you have to bring everything back up to temperature, and no. So make sure it's warm. Now you need a tight fitting lid, because even though the stock didn't cover everything, if you have a tight fitting lid, it will build enough steam in there to actually create or make the vegetables soft and tender, which is what you want. I said fork tender, I think. No, fork tender, well, they're knife tender. Okay, guys. So let's move on to the next stage of this, and this is making the puree. You can actually use a stick blender or an immersion blender right in the pot, or you can do like me. I prefer to use my Vitamix, so I'm going to use my Vitamix to actually blend everything and get it smooth. Look at this, guys. Smooth. This is velvet smooth. And I did wash the pot out, rinse the pot out, because I didn't want any of the bits in there, because I want this to be totally smooth. The only thing that will impart a little bit of crunch will come from the fresh spring onions that we sprinkle on as a garnish. But that's nice and smooth. And guys, you can use here any milk that you choose. You can use dairy milk. I'm putting in the last tablespoon here of masala wine. And again, you can use any milk that you want, guys. You can use any dairy milk that you want, or cream, or plant-based. My choice is actually coconut milk. And I actually always open the containers so I can kind of see inside to make sure nothing went wrong, that nothing moldy is in there, because that will just spoil everything. So once again, guys, you can actually use whatever dairy or non-dairy milk you want that will give you the creaminess that you desire. Now, we are going to heat this again, but we're not going to bring it to a boil. We're going to mix everything in well so it's thoroughly incorporated, and we're going to bring it up to a heat using medium heat, but we are not going to boil. Then we're going to turn it down and allow it to simmer. We're going to cover it and allow it to simmer for maybe about 5 minutes or so, 5-10 minutes or so. The soup here is done. Guys, it's off the chain. It really doesn't need any other seasoning but taste and adjust at this point. But for me, it was perfect. It was on par. So guys, I have, yes, an itty bitty teeny bowl, and I reserved 2 tablespoons of coconut milk. And the bowl's so small actually, guys, because I'm going to have a bigger bowl later when the bread's cooked. So just drizzle a little bit of the coconut milk in, sprinkle with your green onions, and then I'm going to actually, for added color, I'm just going to add some paprika to give it that pop of color. The paprika didn't want to come out of the jar. Bang. But I'm going to add that to give it a pop of color. And here's the soup all done. It is absolutely delicious.